All right, so we are now officially recording. I would like to take a moment and welcome everyone to the Not Investment Competition Podcast, Trial by Fire. This is not episode 36. This is episode 1, and this is week 39 of a competition that was started by one of the people on the call here, Jon. He had this brainchild that we committed to for a total of 35 of the 52 weeks. And then he abruptly had to close it up because his workload got to be too much. Completely understandable in this economy. You got to make money first. And this is a side project that doesn't generate income for him. After he discontinued the podcast at week 35, a few of us got together and spoke and said, man, fuck that guy. We want to keep doing it. This is supposed to be a 52-week competition, and we want to see who is going to be the winner at the end. But we also agreed it's too much work to do it on a weekly basis. So we are updating and doing this once every 4 weeks. This is going to be video 1 of a, what is it going to be, 4-week installment to get us to the end of this competition. We are going to get to the end of the 52 weeks, even though the prior host, Jon, decided that he's going to walk on the hot coals. We'll see if that is a final determination based on this second recording of the podcast. So as you can see, I don't know if you've tuned in to the Investing Competition Podcast, Trial by Fire, hosted by Jon Farness. You can see in the title now, this is not that podcast, but we are continuing. Quick shout out to Jon, the founder, if he wanted to give any 2 cents, words, or advice on this new endeavor that we're going to finish out here.
Yeah, this is not financial advice. And also thank you for continuing this.
Perfect. All right, jumping right in, we have Jon with an overall portfolio balance of $4,056.36. And the next slide, we are going to see the last 4 weeks of picks that I sneakily got out of him on phone calls while he was at work. And I said, hey, Jon, you listening to the stock market? What would you pick today if we were still doing this? Because we weren't officially doing it right away after we finished, but we still pick these stocks every Friday. So the 4 stocks that Jon picked are showing on the screen for week 36, 37, 38, and 39. Jon, would you like to give a little bit of a background on why you picked these stocks?
All right, yeah, week 36 Value Line. That is a company that doesn't provide, but does provide financial advice. It's a stock picking investment company. They have different tiers that you can sign up for. They have a free email newsletter tier. They have subscriptions that you can subscribe to, and they do full stock analysis research reports. Interesting because they were sitting around like $55 for a while. I think I got in somewhere in like the mid 40s if memory serves. So they had a dip, but you know, their revenue wasn't declining, not justifiably for, you know, the 10% decrease in stock that it had. So I thought it was a good time to jump in. Interestingly enough, you know, they send out like a 1 stock to buy this week, but it's like a $600 subscription. I don't pay that $600 subscription. I'd rather put $600 into a stock that I'm picking. I just don't have $600 that. But what they do is once a month, they release a YouTube video going over their proprietary metric system. They have like their own little way that they rate stocks on timeliness and value and potential growth. And so they post that video once a week. I was able to go back like 18 months or something like that. And I tracked out like, look, they always said that like this stock is going to grow by 15 to 30%. And it was like 8 out of 10, or no, it was 10 out of 12 stocks in the past year. Wildly outperformed that sooner than they said it would. And then it did dip back down. And 2 had yet to reach that. That was the months of November and December. One of the ones that they picked in November was Cintas, which was a previous stock pick of mine in week 34. And then finally, all of their financial advisors and shit are not allowed to trade on any of the stocks that they do research reports on, which is super interesting. So it trades at like $45 right now or something like that, which is like 10% lower than it historically has. Intuit owns a bunch of good shit. It doesn't own good shit, but it acquired a bunch of shit that a lot of human resource and other business professionals use. Things like workbooks for keeping track of business accounting, and it also owns TurboTax. I'm sure most people are familiar with one of those two products, and if they're not, they did buy Credit Karma. So those three products that they own, great revenue. I don't always agree with the business practices and ethics displayed by Intuit, but I think long term they're going to make money. In fact, I expect like a huge jump in price, probably like March, April timeframe, as the end of the tax season comes to close and with their quarterly financial reports due. Smith & Wesson, there aren't many gun manufacturing stocks that are publicly traded. So Smith & Wesson is one, Ruger is one. There is also an ammo one. Smith & Wesson is a profitable company, pays a higher dividend than Ruger, has a lower PE ratio than Ruger. And I think there's like 9 different events in this world that could supercharge this stock, which currently trades at like 10 or $11 a share. So Smith and Wesson, you know, it's profitable. It's not super big, but I think it can get short-term supercharged based off of not public mass event. I don't know. Unpredictable foreseen events that could go 9 different directions. And then Alphabet Google Class A. So Google has Class A, Class B shares. They trade at about the same level. Their dividends are about the same level. Any given day, it's a couple dollars difference. The Class A and the Class B just have different voting rights. Alphabet, though, had their earnings reports, and the stock market reacted the exact opposite way that you would expect, because Alphabet came out and said, hey, our revenue increased, our profitability increased, and all of our numbers are going up, as well as the numbers that you want going up are going up, and the numbers that you want going down, like operation costs, the cost to do business is going down. So the numbers were moving in the right direction. And I guess everyone who was a stockholder of Alphabet at the time decided to sell off and take their profits. So that created a pretty decent buying opportunity. It's still right now a pretty good buying opportunity. And I think they have a lot of progress that they can make. Their AI game is a little weak compared to the market, but they're always going to be a player in AI. Their quantum computing game, kind of weak, but they're always going to be a player in that. They are outperforming in their self-driving and rideshare, which is known as Wago, GoWave, something. Oh my goodness! Now I'm embarrassing myself. They have autonomous driving vehicles that they use for rideshare, and it's wildly outperforming. And they use the opposite technology as Tesla. They use LiDAR and not cameras only. They do have cameras in conjunction with their LiDAR, but they do both. And then they own in the most unserious way, they are number one in search. So they obviously own Google search and YouTube search, which are the biggest ways to search, and they outperform Microsoft Bing, and they outperform GoDaddy and or DuckDuckGo or whatever else there is out there wildly. There is talk like things like Perplexity, ChatGPT, other things are gonna take over their search things. But I don't know, it's an unserious thing. And then they make a ton of money from advertising, Google ads and things like that. So they got a whole host of products, ways of bringing in money. Oh, also they just got sued by China for being a monopoly, even though they have less than a 30% market share in China. So it's weird that China would sue them for being a monopoly over there. So again, great time to buy right now. It's going to rebound back up over $220 pretty predictably.
Very good, very good. So it does look like Google is the only one that's on the upward trend of the 4 that you picked there. So that's the year look at the 4 picks you had there. Looks like you're really good at picking on the low. And I do see the dip you're talking about for Google, and that's probably a decent time to buy in is when they hit that dip, obviously. So I do want to say that you and I had a conversation about Intuit, so I'm going to criticize you on Intuit, and I'm glad you added into your little spiel because I think that was the second one that you picked, and I called you on that Friday, and I'm like, yeah, what would you pick? You're like, Intuit. I'm like, screw Intuit. They're trying to cut out the middleman. Like, there's people that work before taxpayers in front of the IRS so that there's kind of like a buffer. Taxpayer comes to an enrolled agent, a tax professional, CPA, and then they go on and that information gets relayed to the IRS because the IRS, when they bring information down, are you reading it? Do taxpayers know anything about that? Not usually. Intuit was running a campaign saying that you could just cut out the tax professionals in the middle because they had the pros, they had their advisors, and they really didn't. The people that they were hiring to do the review of the taxes was strictly just checking to make sure that you had the decimal points in the correct spot. They weren't making sure you were actually claiming deductions you were allowed or credits that you were supposed to, like a tax professional would. So John and I had a conversation about I wasn't a big fan of Intuit, and they had been bullied into taking down some of those deceptive ads about their tax professionals. Being a tax professional for myself, that was kind of a personal touch for me. So
yeah, I don't agree with 100% of their work business practices or work ethics or anything like that, but again, part of my investment thesis on Intuit is like they fully know what they're doing and they account it as the cost of doing business, so like it'll catch up with them eventually, but they're gonna rake in more money, more than ever they'll be held accountable to. And if they're gonna rake in money, I want a piece of that money that they're raking in. I fully believe that they know what they're doing and they just associate it with the cost of doing business.
anybody else have some criticism? I know we're cutting it really, really thin here on how you guys can do your Apple research. Just, myself, I'm not looking up anyone's balance sheets during this recording because I wouldn't have enough time to do the research that I would normally do. So anybody have any words?
No, some really solid picks.
Yeah.
John always puts in the time and the effort to read in between the lines and look through family genealogy and check IQ tests.
But he's still in last place.
That's because my portfolio isn't designed for this 1 week stuff. I just use this as an outlet to talk about stocks. These are all companies that, like, when I buy them, I am going to hold them forever.
It's not 1 week anymore.
With maybe 3 exceptions.
It's not 1 week anymore, John.
I know. But I just use it as an outlet to talk about the things that I would invest in if I had money to invest.
So John's like looking at it from the eyes of like, go ahead, Dave. Sorry.
I just said that she's calling you out.
Yeah. John's just looking at it through the eyes of like Berkshire Hathaway because he normally buys shit to hang on to it. He's not a pump and dump.
Berkshire Hathaway owns Geico?
Do you know?
He owns his own gecko?
He owns Geico, the insurance company.
I know someone who owns a gecko.
He does. It's-
Back on track.
All right. Any more words? Any more words on these four stock picks here? All right. Moving on, we have our first self-promotion of the episode here.
All right. Hey, so I like to do things where I get to invest or learn about investing. And one of the best ways that I am investing is investing in the future. So I get to share my favorite stories that I've created with my family, that I've read to my family. And I think when I get to create a product and that can lead to recurring revenue, I think that's another way to invest in my family and my family's future, and in myself as I get to challenge myself with a creative process. So if you guys would take the time and meander over to Amazon.com, you will find that I have self-published a children's book called Hi, Sorry, I'm Skylar, which is full of the same dad joke over and over again, told 30 different ways, that tells a pretty fun story that every kid that hears it just giggles their butt off. It is probably 40% cheaper now than it was when it's first released. So get it now before inflation hits.
I did update that picture. It's currently $8.99 on Amazon. So go out there. If you order it today, the date that we're recording this, which is February 9th, 2025, you'll get it by February 14th, Valentine's Day. What a fun gift for your kid to give to all of their Valentines at school. In addition, we have this. Stay on the lookout, because I know for a fact that Jon, the author, has more books that are in the works and should be coming in the year 2025. All right. Now it's my turn. Overall portfolio balance of $4,558.40. These were my four picks that I put in, and I spent probably 3.5 hours today editing this slideshow and getting all of this together, that I didn't even think twice about why I picked these stocks in the last 4 weeks. But looking at the names, I can tell you that I am very in tune with the energy market, it looks like. Quantum computing, you wouldn't think, oh, that's not energy, that's just computers, but they require a crap ton of energy to operate. And there's been a lot of talk recently about some of the renewable energy sources that are out there not being something that's going to sustain quantum computing. So there either needs to be advancements in that technology, or they need to keep relying on some of the traditional energy methods such as oil. Moving on to Plug Power. They are a renewable energy company, I believe. I don't have it in front of me, so I can't tell you for sure. This is one that I was actually introduced to back in probably 2018, 2019. I was new to investing. Robinhood had just entered the scene and around that time. And putting investment in the hands of your phone. It's literally in your pocket, in your hands on an everyday basis. So one of the first stocks that I got was $5 of Plug Power, and I think I held it for like 2 years, and then I sold it, and I hadn't looked at it since. Recently I plugged back into it, and I saw it on the penny stock list. I'm like, I recognize that name. I know that company. I think they're okay. Now that I'm thinking twice about it, I mean, they've been pretty low on the dollar amount per stock for quite some time. So maybe they're not the best choice, but we'll see what happens. They're currently down, but they can turn around. And then Lithium Americas, I've invested in them prior to week 38. Same story with quantum computing. I invested in them prior to week 36. Lithium Americas, I just think that a lot of the trade wars that have been talked about recently in the news between US, Mexico, Canada, I think it's going to benefit America the most. And Lithium Americas is a US-based company that produces lithium. And obviously that's one of the critical minerals needed for renewable solar power and battery technologies and stuff like that. So I'm pretty safe in putting money back into that one as a double down. And then the last one, Crane Company, manufacturing. They put together the machinery that is used in a lot of the construction, especially for larger corporations that build factories and what have you. I'm again leaning heavily on the trade wars and the rhetoric coming from the current administration of the U.S. stating that they want U.S. made, American made, U.S. based companies. I could see a boom coming for a lot of companies bringing their manufacturing back, and as a ripple effect, a company like Crane Company would be seeing a positive note on that aspect. So those are my reasonings. These are the charts. I don't have much else other than that, so we'll open the floor to questions, comments, concerns, and criticisms.
I'm just curious, what does Crane Company exactly do?
I just said they provide the equipment like cranes.
Yes, but like, do they also service, or are they just like they own equipment and they're just delivering it? I'm just curious because I'm just curious, I guess. I don't know. If they're only moving equipment, that does make sense. That can be a company, but I'm just like, do they do more?
Let me pull it up real quick and I will read you their exact words. How about that? How do you feel about that?
I'm fine with that.
CR, Crane Company. All right, so the official description available is Crane Company designs and manufactures aerospace, electronics, and engineering industrial products. It operates through 4 segments: aerospace and electronics, process flow technologies, payment and merchandising technologies, and engineered materials. The company was founded by Richard Teller Crane on July 4th, 1855, and is headquartered in Stamford, Connecticut. I don't know if they service their own equipment or not, but I'm assuming Crane is a big enough brand that they probably have some sort of servicing available for some of their stuff. And they are a lot more in not just manufacturing, like what I was saying, but it looks like they have a lot more going on, such as payment, merchandising, and aerospace and electronics. So that's a few aspects more than what I even explained.
Yeah, industrial manufacturing, it's kind of weird how many of those types of publicly facing companies also do something with Department of Defense contracts. They did have 2 smaller subsidiaries that they owned, one known for bathroom fixtures and faucets, and then another one where they were messing around with a subsidiary that owned manufactured, serviced vending machines. But they have recently sold both of those smaller subsidiaries off, which is interesting.
I was gonna say when you were talking about Crane, it tickled my fancy based on like I have 2 that are similar, and I'm not even sure which the second one is. The one that came just before this week was Cummins, and I know that they work with heavy equipment and the design and manufacturing and the delivery and all of that, as well as the maintenance. And that's why when you brought up Crane, I'm like, well, maybe they're partnered, maybe they're and I was trying to Google it while you were looking into it, but I got nothing for you.
Is Cummins more vehicles than machinery, heavy machinery vehicles, but like mostly vehicles rather than like industrial equipment, I guess. I only asked that because I know I drove a Cummins. I don't know if, I don't know.
Oh, okay. I know what you're asking now. So like the type of engines that they produce are used in like mills and stuff, but they also do actual machining. So like if there's parts specific to a place that they have a contract through, they will generate that piece if it ever breaks or needs maintenance. I do know that they have some connection to cranes and that they do produce either the motor for it or something of that nature, which is why I originally found them. I work in that environment and I figured, hey, big enough brand, I might find it. And you'd be surprised some of the stuff that's labeled and you never even, is it even a real company, question mark? But
Right.
Cummins I went into, and it was because I looked into the cranes at work, and yeah.
Well, nice.
Anyways, back to Jacob stocks. Plug Power messes around with hydrogen, hydrogen fuel, hydrogen power.
Yep.
Which is, I don't know. It's not the same as nuclear power, but some people freak out about it like nuclear power, and it's not as big or as profitable yet. So we need a couple more technology advancements in order for hydrogen energy to really take off.
I think it's wholly possible. I mean, if
Oh
anything,
yeah,
the work that Plug does, I think if a few advancements are made, is going to directly benefit quantum. Because if quantum can get off of an oil-based energy and function well, then even better. You know what I mean?
yeah. And then I don't think your qubit stock, quantum computing stock, is the best quantum computing stock out there.
That's fine. You can have your opinion.
Let me see here.
You more of a fan of Faith's quantum stock, the D-Wave one?
D-Wave is interesting, but no, I don't think it's the best one out there. I'm waiting for the best one to dip.
All right. Well, maybe we'll do that one in a future episode.
Yeah, which it did, but I chose Google over it technically.
Oh.
Yeah.
Don't worry. Google will probably buy one of these quantum companies pretty soon. So
Can't buy the one I'm looking at.
it'll probably buy one of them is all I'm saying. Probably one like D-Wave, one that actually doesn't have a product at market like, Qubit does. So
And what type of products is that?
they actually have quantum computing services and equipment that they already have produced and sell.
Only for like commercial applications, right?
I mean, do you know anybody that can actually put a quantum computer in their basement right now?
Sam
Is
Altman.
it Mark Zuckerberg?
Elon Musk. No, Elon Musk. No, Rents doesn't own. Just kidding. Trump. White House is big enough.
Right. I think if Elon was going to own something, it'd be going big or going home. He'd have a whole facility as large as his gigafactory in Texas for the Cybertruck.
Oh, this is interesting. One of their subsidiaries, QCI, messes around with cybersecurity and LiDAR.
Yep. I knew about the cybersecurity. I wasn't sure about the LiDAR. That's cool.
Yeah, that's super interesting.
Anybody have anything else there?
Nope.
No?
You're in second place.
No. Pretty solid.
Why do you think I'm in second place? You don't know what can you wait till the end of the podcast and we tell everybody what place everybody is in? Like, why are you trying to tease so much?
Well, I didn't know that you had a slide for that.
I got a slide for everything. And if I don't have a slide for it, I can share my screen and show something else if need be. Yeah, that's right. Anyway, David, Mike, all good?
Yeah.
Yeah, good.
All right. Speaking of David and Mike, both of you need to get me your tax information because I would love to get your taxes done before April 15th, which is the deadline. I'm not sure if you are aware of this watching this podcast, but I am lucky enough to have everyone else who is on this podcast as a fantastic and amazing client. They didn't give me permission to say this, but I'm sure if they all nod right now that it's all good. Great. Really, I should be doing that beforehand. But anyway, I am so glad to have some of my family as my clients. They can be a great bouncing board for testing stuff. They can be annoying with bringing in documents and all of their silly tax questions. But that actually is what inspired my business model, the way I have it set up. You come to me with your tax return and you pay a fee, and that fee covers you for the next 365 days until we file your next tax return. And what that means is if you have a question, you win the lottery, you're filling out a W-4, you are You are selling a piece of property, some land you inherited. You're working with your parents' estate or trust information. Anything that comes up during that year and you have a question, you reach out, and my response to you is always free. There is no hourly billing. There is no additional charges. Everything is included. You get that tax professional in your corner for the entire year. And I encourage you to call, text, email, whatever your fancy to get your answers. So if you are looking for a tax professional that is in your corner and is willing to be there throughout the year to support you, reach out to Farness Tax Prep, myself, Jacob, and I will get you started. We are 2 months away from the deadline, so give me a call. Next up, we have David with an overall portfolio of $4,155.90. And his 4 picks for week 36 through 39. David, what would you like to tell us about your picks?
Well, kind of backtracking a little bit. A few weeks ago, obviously on the older podcast, we talked about how my movement forward was going to be bigger companies, well-known set companies that provided a dividend for me. Looking at this week's last 4 weeks picks, I started out with MasterCard. I ended up re-choosing them. I chose them very early on, probably the 3rd week. And I thought it was a good time to buy back in. The dividend was good. So I know that the second buy, this one right here, did already receive a dividend payment, which was really nice. Moving forward, the next 2, the EA and then Meta, kind of fell under the same category for me. They're well-known, they're gaming, they're technology. And the idea that technology is a growing industry, I can't imagine that they're not going to at least hold steady, but maybe grow some more. I was surprised to find out that Meta paid that dividend. I believe it's only like quarterly, so I won't see anything anytime soon. EA, that one's completely out of my head. I don't know how often that dividend is, and I don't think I saw it this time. And then coming up this last round, it was a last-minute pick. I was eating cereal. I said General Mills, and they provided dividends, so here I am, eating it up.
So I don't have much to say on your picks there, except for your week 37 Electronic Arts, EA. That's a great designation to have as a tax professional. So yeah, that's all I have to say.
So are you saying like tax professional? It's in the game? No? All right. Let's tear David apart here. First of all, MasterCard will never beat Visa. MasterCard will always be number 2. EA. First of all, before I don't know, hours before this call, I didn't know that was a publicly traded stock. But looking into it, you know who they're losing market share to and who they don't have the same market share as?
Who?
Microsoft. Now, I know you've previously talked about Microsoft, but EA is all about gaming and they're losing to Microsoft. Meta, yeah, you should know that they pay a dividend.
Okay, hold on. You said they're losing to Microsoft. So let's just kind of point out that I also have Microsoft, and that they are just different industries. Microsoft has their programs and their work related money producing programs. There we go. I couldn't think of the right word. Microsoft is a lot bigger. I can't say that it's been around longer. I don't know when each one started, but I feel like comparing that's apples and oranges right there. EA to Microsoft.
Sure. Surface level by the names only. Yeah, it sounds like that. But Microsoft owns Xbox. Microsoft owns Call of Duty now. Microsoft owns Activision now. So they have a whole gaming department. So I mean, yeah, Microsoft, it's not known for owning Xbox and things like that. It's not known for having recently purchased Activision and the investment of the massive games it's releasing, You're
going to find this crazy. Activision has its own stock.
They just bought out Activision a couple months ago.
they still had their own stock. So comparing Activision to EA is probably the better comparison rather than EA to Microsoft, buddy. The stock ticker was AIY.DE. I'm assuming that means it was on the I can't remember what that stock exchange is. Not the New York, the other one.
Hold on. Oh, I'm Googling this right now. I usually can't do. Oh, they're buying one of Activision's subsidiaries, I guess. Microsoft is buying Activision Blizzard. I didn't even know.
Blizzard is actually a unique one. They have the rights to World of Warcraft. I don't know if you guys have ever played, but it's one of the oldest and largest online open world MMOs. Which is interesting because, you know, if you took that technology and you applied it to other games, just changing minor characteristics, all of a sudden you have StarCraft. All of a sudden you have, and these are huge titles that make in lots of money. So
yeah, the
it's
Microsoft
unique.
acquisition included Candy Crush, Call of Duty, plus what you're talking about. Like, it was pretty massive. So, sorry, I thought they fully bought out Activision, not just a subsidiary. That's my bad. But
Please
EA
continue.
is losing a ton of market share to Microsoft. Meta Platforms is part of the Magnificent Seven. There's only one of the Magnificent Seven that does not pay a dividend, which is Amazon. General Mills, though, you know, they got some plants here in Wisconsin.
I did not know they had plants here in Wisconsin. That's actually wild.
Yeah, probably 15, 20 minutes from my house, too.
Anyways, anything else, buddy?
I will defend EA for a second there, and not just because it's behind my name as a designation, but because John is attacking EA because Microsoft owns its own gaming area. But I mean, Nintendo, PlayStation, Xbox, they've all existed forever. Like each of these PC, like all of these consoles that people use have existed forever. And everyone's like, oh, this is the superior one. This is the greater one. The other ones still exist. They still have their own market share. They still do their own thing. Like they're not, I don't think they're going anywhere unless EA drops a product that is just absolutely horseshit and doesn't like live up to the legacy of EA games, you know, then I don't think EA is going anywhere. When you compare Activision or even, you know, Xbox, right? When you compare Xbox to EA, you're comparing one of Microsoft's departments with a company, which that's what Microsoft is. Microsoft is a company of hundreds of departments that are company size on their own. You know what I mean? So EA can do their own thing without losing anything to Microsoft. Just because Microsoft owns something doesn't mean Microsoft owns the best of something.
No, okay, but like if you just take the gaming industry and you put it in a circle, right? Or not even just the gaming industry. Take the consoles and, you know, the PCs out of it, and you're like, who produces the games? Because that's what EA does, right? They're game producers, right? Like
do
Zynga
Madden,
or you know what?
Yep. EA is very well known for the sports brands like Madden and
Yeah.
what's the basketball
So
one?
like you take the entire like game making industry, right? And Activision used to own like a massive part of that pie, and slowly that pie that EA was eating is getting smaller and smaller and smaller. And now Microsoft owns a bigger piece of that pie.
All right, John, hold on.
Is EA
Since we want to talk
selling
about pie.
hang on, is EA selling anything directly to Microsoft?
Is EA selling anything directly to Microsoft? I don't know. I don't have that information.
Like they're not selling off parts of their gaming history or network or anything to Microsoft, right? Like Activision.
Activision
They sell
is a
the rights
separate
to
company.
it.
Right. So Activision is selling certain aspects to Microsoft, correct?
Yep. They
Yes,
sell the
Christina?
rights to have people play their game through Microsoft's Xbox. So like the Madden and
You-
the NBA 2K or stuff like that, those yearly made games that are based on basketball and football,
Here-
they sell
here's
the
my
right
argument.
for that to be sold on Microsoft's platforms like Xbox and their whatever their PC portal is.
So they're not selling a piece of the company, though, right? Here's my argument, right? So EA produces a legacy of their own games, correct?
Yeah.
Similar to Rockstar, right? Rockstar, the gaming company that produces Grand Theft Auto, one of the largest online gaming things that have ever existed ever since they put out GTA 5. The market share on GTA is ridiculous, and it's not going anywhere. As long as EA produces a good product and continues their legacy, they're doing just fine.
They refined what they like doing. They like doing the sports and the racing games. And what they do is they continue to produce those games in newer quality and newer content, and they continue to make money. Yeah, they did stop making stuff like contributing to I think like Rayman was one of theirs technically at some point, but they don't contribute to that anymore. Now that's completely owned by it's an N name, but it's not Nintendo. It's like I don't know. They refined what they're doing. They like what they're doing, and they continue to make it.
Again, a couple of hours before this podcast, I did not know that EA was a publicly traded company.
So awesome. Any other criticism, comments, concerns about David's picks here?
What?
That he should have known that Meta pays a dividend.
Okay. Hey David, have you put any real dollars into any of these stocks here?
If if I'm being honest, no, money has definitely been very, very tight lately. We're just doing what we're doing.
That was funny. It's just like, oh.
I would never lie to my tax guy about where I'm putting my money.
That's funny.
I think there's
That's-
maybe like one new stock buy, and it was definitely not $100.
Yeah, I think the next iteration of this, John, can I spoil the beans on that?
Yeah, go for it, my guy.
So in the prior installment of Investment Competition Podcast, where we went for 35 straight weeks, there was only one contestant who actually consistently contributed the $100 every 4 weeks into a real stock and kept it there.
As I recall, I don't even know if that's qualifying because according to my notes, that one contestant you're referencing would buy $100 when they were supposed to, but then maybe the next time or two in the future, they would have to previously sell parts of that $100 to buy their next $100.
That is incorrect. So I'm going to spill the whole beans here. This is great. So I originally had about $800 invested in my portfolio prior to the Investment Competition Podcast starting. And I sold off about 600 of that $800 throughout the competition to fund the next $100 investment that I had to make in that next 4 weeks. And until week 35, I never not once sold one of the stocks that was declared as a real cash money week of the $100 of the $100 week.
Hold up, let's check my notes on that because we had a discussion about that once, didn't we?
We may have, yes, but I could literally, honestly, my portfolio still has most of the stocks. There's only one of them that I sold half my shares in, and that was after the last episode.
I saw his account. So I know Jacob's telling the truth.
Regardless, we all read the contract that was provided for the previous podcast, and it said that you didn't actually have to buy it, but it was indicated as a buy week. Jacob unfortunately took that as I have to buy, and that's on him. That is on him.
And if somebody wants to nitpick the contract, the owner of the contract also said it was a 52-week contract. So,
Well,
Unless
going to
terminated by me, those were in the terms and conditions.
He did his best.
anyway, so I think in the future, if there's another installment of the Investment Competition podcast where we do a different competition, we should all attempt maybe $100 was just too much. And maybe in the future we go with, a $20 weekly investment or every other week or whatever. I think we need to make this doable, because I think if we can show this to people that we're doing the research and putting in a few bucks and seeing the difference it can make, I think that's going to make such a big difference. But anyway, for now, we're going to keep playing with our David has $4,155.90. And now we're moving on to the next contestant, who is Faith, with a portfolio value of $6,165.97. I'm not sure if anyone else at home has been paying attention, but the last three presenters who talked about their stocks were all at 4,000 something. And now we have Faith here, who is at 6,000. And she is here to talk about her last four picks. Go ahead, Faith.
hi. So Oracle, I decided to kind of go back to the beginning, how I picked my stocks of I'm gonna buy into brands that I know. So I was sitting around my office and I have a lot of vinyl, and that's a vinyl brand. I was like, that's well known. Let me look that up in our app. And it wasn't the company that I thought when I first purchased it, but the graph looked good. I said, hell yeah, let's do that. And then upon looking at the start of the podcast today, so I knew what I was talking about, I then found out it's the same company, but like it's not my company that's publicly traded that I invested in. But it's fine, it worked out. So that's kind of neat. That's how I follow that. I liked the 1 year graph. So yep, that's Oracle. And then Diginex. So this one, let's just say I really wish I invested my real money in that. But this has been one that I spoke to a friend about.
Her insider.
But it wasn't publicly traded on the stock market yet. So I do have a list of stocks in my phone of stocks that are and are not publicly traded. And each week before I pick one that currently is publicly traded, I look up the ones that weren't and see if they IPO'd on the app that we use. And that week, that one had. So I actually got in on the day that it IPO'd, fortunately. So yeah, don't know too much about the company. I know that has to do with innovative technology, which is what started the conversation. So purchased that one. It's jumped quite a bit. So happy with that. Roku, again, went back to how I did things in the beginning. Purchased brands that I know. I had gone and looked at my tracker and was just kind of looking at how my stocks were doing and noticed that Roku was doing pretty decently. So I decided to give it another shot to continue to do well for me. And then CNDT was on a penny stock list. I went through about 15 of them, didn't really like what I was looking at. This was the first one that piqued some interest to me, so I decided to buy that one. Yep.
Did you happen to mention the
Faith, we're gonna start fighting. Sorry, go ahead, Jake.
Did you happen to mention the difference in Diginex that you are seeing in your portfolio?
What did I bought it at $4.17, and now it's at $45.25 without a stock split or anything.
You and I had a phone call earlier today to make sure that we weren't missing something and that was accurate. And I was really hoping there was a split in the mix. I was like, yeah, there's got to be like a 1 for 10 split or something. No. No, that mother trucker's worth over $1,000, and you only invested 100 of fake money. So that's crazy. That's
Yeah,
crazy.
I'm not sad about it. I wish I would have invested real money in it.
Yeah, so I don't know who your friend is, but like apparently your friend is good at this shit. I'd like to be put in contact with them. And then second of
No.
all, like honestly, if your friend and you are going to be this good at this, you need to start be texting our group chat letting us know what to invest in.
So here's the thing.
No,
A
you
lot
keep
of the stuff,
keep your family
a
poor.
lot
That's
of the
fine.
things that we talk about and to invest in, they're not that great.
For sure, like 6 of them have flopped. I had a small short list of ones that he suggested to me. I went through and I looked at them, and at
It's not
least
who you
4 out of
think.
those 6 flopped
David,
hard. What?
it's not the one that you're thinking. This isn't from him. This is from a different friend.
Really?
Yes. Like a
Oh,
friend.
is this the nurse?
Faith, I'm not sure how
This
you can
is-
justify yourself here. Like you're saying, well, sometimes they don't have good advice. Lady, look at your goddamn portfolio.
Listen, and not all
Seriously.
of this is
You
listen,
have
not all of this is even advice. This is conversations and goes, oh yeah, I heard about this stock on the radio or off of this, and I write it down. So not even all these are ones that they're probably keeping track of. I do my own research ish.
for sure, but you have a solid track record of picking short-term winners. Most, I can't say most of these, but half of these are not long-term holding their value, but all of these have been short-term winners, I think, by at least 10% or more.
Yeah. Pretty good.
Yeah.
Can we reverse the clock a couple days?
All right, Faith, I just want to put it out there real quick. Okay. The general age-old advice is that if you invest money into the stock market, you can expect about a 10% return year on year. Okay. Now it's not always going to be 10% every single year. But in the long haul, if you do the math, it ends up being roughly about 10% every year, your money appreciated in value. If you're looking at the portfolio currently, so this is week 39 that we're up to, which means we've all invested a hypothetical $3,900. Your portfolio, with the age-old advice of should be going up about 10% a year, should be at $4,290. That's 10%. You're at $6,165. You're up over 150%. 150%. That's not
up
10%. That's not even close to 10%.
That can't be 150%.
Okay, maybe it's not
100% would be $3,900. The 50% is the gain that you're seeing, Faith.
correct.
Okay, that
Yes.
makes
Well,
more
you're up
sense.
over 50%. I apologize. But it's not even close. It's ridiculous. You need to share your friends, okay? Friends and family share good friends with their family. So share your friends with your family.
I don't even like. I personally want to pick this dude's brain, and I want to see like what his feed is like. Like, where is he getting his information and research from? But like, even if I never get a hold of your friend, you need to start sharing.
You'd beat him and you'd be like, this is where she gets her stuff from. He's a crackhead.
Don't care. Crackheads out hustle everyone. Okay, you
I'm not
never
saying
see
he's like a legit
crackhead.
smoking crack. I'm saying he's
I don't care. Apparently, they have a natural talent for this. I got no
Anyways.
beef with drug addicts as long as they're productive to society. So let's make sure that they're productive for society here. By society, I mean me.
I also just want to
Anyways.
point out that my Palantir Technologies and Rigetti are back. I missed them. They were not doing hot. Now they're doing great.
Yeah, but your Rockwell Medical and your Tourmaline Bio.
Yeah, you don't gotta watch all
Endra's
those.
never gonna get there.
I didn't say you had to look at those. Anyways, moving on.
You are the antithesis of what I want to do. You are a trader and I am an investor. You can pick a stock and like if we worked on your timing, you could get in and out and make buku bucks fast. I want to hold shit forever. I want to find the companies that are worth holding on to forever.
Yeah, you're a hoarder, like other people in your family.
Yeah, I specifically hope that your Diginex drops significantly because otherwise you are 100% you're going to win this podcast in the next handful of weeks here. So
I think I
Anyway.
might just do some throwaway stocks from now on.
I am apprehensive about your conduit. Like you have a track history of picking at least short-term winners, maybe not long-term winners. But conduit was a an offshoot of Xerox. Xerox is still a publicly traded company, but you know they divested from each other, and Xerox is getting run into the ground here. I don't think they're ever going to turn around. I'm apprehensive about your conduit just because they were a part of Xerox.
They just got to hold in for 12 weeks.
They might, but
probably will.
I've got 15% battery, so if we could get moving on to Mike, it'd be appreciated.
Yeah, you should plug your phone in. All right, moving on. We have Mr. Mike with an overall portfolio balance of $4,276.09. Not sure if you guys remember the math I just did, but he is only $14 shy of keeping up with the 10% return on investment right here. So congratulations, Mike.
Thank you. Thank you.
These are the last four picks you
that's-
had here. I was completely disgusted on how much I had to change the font size compared to everyone else's screen because you like to choose names that are so freaking long. Go ahead, tell us about your picks.
All right. So first, we're going to start with man. Where did I? Oh boy. Yeah. So first, I'm going to start with Dino, HF Sinclair Corporation, which is go figure fuel. Fuel. They do fuel. They do diesel. They do jet fuel. They do specialty lubricant products. They do chemicals. They do modified asphalt. They do a whole bunch of stuff. They do it everywhere. They got a lot of refineries: Kansas, Oklahoma, New Mexico, Utah, Washington, Wyoming. They are all over the place. I love it. I could not verify that they had anything in the Permian Basin. I do apologize. But a lot of analysts put them just into the buy rating, and their PE ratio is sitting at a 21, which is really good. I really like PE ratios, if you know anything about me. And then moving on, Granite Ridge Resources. They they do non-operated oil and gas exploration and production. It owns a portfolio of wells and acreage across, you guessed it, the Permian Basin and other unconventional basins in the United States. They're based out of Dallas, Texas. The analysts put them around just into the buy. Not bad. Their PE ratio is sitting around a 16. Again, not that bad. The next company is Brookfield Renewable Partners, LP. They own a portfolio of renewable power generating facilities, primarily in North America, Colombia, and Brazil. They generate electricity through hydroelectric, wind, solar, distributed generation, generators, and pumped storage, as well as renewable natural gas, carbon capture and storage, a lot of recycling and cogeneration, biomass, nuclear services, and power transformation. So yeah, they're based in Toronto, Canada. They're on the high side of buy across a bunch of analysts. I don't remember seeing a PE ratio. A lot of these I modified my PE ratio with a beta. I was looking for something a hair more volatile. So we're looking at here we go. So good. So like in Sow. They manufacture and sell freeze-dried candy and snacks in the U.S. I don't know what else to say. They're based out of Irving, Texas. They were a super strong buy on analysts, and their PE ratio is a 13. Any questions?
Yeah, did you know Brookfield Renewable Partners is related to my previous picks from the other podcast, BAM and BAN?
I actually did know that.
This
This
is
is
one of
bad.
their investment vehicles. So
Yeah, it's a portfolio of energy. Yeah. I
yeah.
don't know if you guys saw a theme running along my stuff, but it's mostly energy. And who doesn't love freeze dried candy? Have you guys tried that shit?
Yeah, not a fan.
I think it just goes down too quick. Like,
Sure.
yeah. And that's what my holy cow train wreck looks like. It's not bad. It'll get there.
Yeah.
Any
Yeah.
questions, anybody? Righteous.
I just want to let everyone else in the podcast know that my 52-week choice is still secure. That's still the one I'm going with, as long as everything goes well. If you don't know what I'm talking about, don't ask me any questions. But yeah, it's still out there, and I'm still going to go for it.
Okay. John looks confused.
I think he's reading an analysis report.
Just a couple.
Thursday.
Are you chat GPTing that stuff yet?
No, I'm gonna start setting price alerts.
Nice.
I
Try and beat
personally
them up
thought it
now.
looked like he was taking a shit.
I don't lounge backwards when I sit on the can. I don't know about you guys, but usually I'm hunched over.
It's a rarity. Sometimes you got to settle in for the long one.
Anyway, I got nothing for you. David, John, Faith?
Nothing to
I
throw
never
on
have
there.
anything from Mike.
Huh?
No,
Just-
I got
just about eight.
nothing.
All right,
Righteous.
cool. Wow,
Moving on.
Michael's getting on with the least amount of scrutiny here. Anyway, moving on here, we have the overall placement right here. This is not the week, but this is overall. We have in first place Faith with her ridiculous 6,000 insider trading. Then we have myself at 4,500. We have Mike in third place at 4,200.
Solid.
David in fourth place at 4,100, and John at fifth place at 4,056. Now, John, I don't want you to feel bad. You're still in last place like you were on week 35 when we ended your podcast. But the baseline is 3,900. You're still up by $156. So you're doing all right. It's okay, buddy. Nothing
I challenged the accuracy of all of these. I know that dividends were not properly accounted for.
We'll make a few dollar difference, but I don't think it makes the $100 difference that you think it would.
No, I know it doesn't make $100 difference, but I do challenge the accuracy. If we're off of my dividends, I don't know the accuracy of any of those numbers.
The
Oh
only
my gosh.
dividends that ended up getting skipped were YMAX and Y, whatever your other Y one is.
No,
the
there
only
was
reason
another one.
those two were skipped.
We'll look at it. John will take a review. I'm sure he'll take a day, and he still has access to the same worksheet. But it's like I said, it's not going to make the 100 difference that takes him out of last place. So, but John, really, be proud of yourself. You're not losing money. You're $150 in the positive. Look at you. Good job.
Well, no, I have lost money. One of the stocks I did invest real money is down 50%.
That's not the one that you lost track of on your tracker for a while and disappeared, and then came back and you sold it, and now you're really worried about the gain.
What?
Nextia?
Oh no.
No?
That wasn't
Okay.
that wasn't part of my tracker for the podcast.
All right, moving on then. So Faith secured in first place. I don't think anyone's going to come close to touching her if her $1,000 winner doesn't come down. So I pray that her $1,000 winner comes down. Now we're looking at the 4-week overall portfolio performance here. In first place, we have Faith with a positive value of $1,022. Now, the way we would normally do this is we would look at who was in the red and who was in the green on that fancy list that John made. I just aggregated that number and did it minus $400 to see where we all were. Faith has a positive 1,022. David's a positive 2,858. Mike's a negative $2.44. John's a negative $21.64. And I myself am a negative $22.02. So if we're doing the same consequences that we had before, the 4-week loser is myself, and I owe the group a shot to kill the weaker brain cells. Is this a tradition we'd like to continue? Because this list will be updated for the next time we record in 4 weeks. If everyone is in agreement, say aye.
Aye.
Any
it should be a double.
opposed, say nay.
I think it should be a double.
I consider
Double.
a group.
It should be a quad. You just got to do a pull from the bottle.
Four
like-
fingers.
Straight until he cries.
I would never cry. I handle my liquor well. So this is to those weaker brain cells. It is fitting that me being the new host of this, not the investment competition podcast, would be the first loser of this 4-week update. And I say thank you to John for starting this, and down the hatch to the weaker brain cells. Whew. All right. Now, special prediction I want to put out there real quick. John's special prediction was that Faith will have more individual picks in the red than anyone else. Currently, Jacob has 24 picks in the red. John has 17. Faith has 16. Mike has 16. And David has 13. So at the moment, Faith is not the worst performing in terms of number of picks in the red. In fact, John has one more than she does. And then the other special prediction is by myself, yours truly, Jacob. Eli Lilly will be David's worst performer in his portfolio. They've made a comeback. I'm disappointed. They used to be like third worst. They are currently 14th worst performer, but there's still a handful of weeks left, and I still hold my prediction. Just wanted to give an update on those ones real quick. So
I like your little add-ins there. I love that. I like being able to see the progress.
That's nice.
We'll see
That's
if next
nice.
week I feel like updating it or just deleting the lines and talking. So we'll see what happens. And that is the end of the presentation. I don't know if anybody has any questions, wants to talk about their overall portfolio. I don't have the fans and haters because there's too many to, I mean, maybe I'm a fan of Google, but a hater of, what else did John pick? I don't know. I don't want to do that because there's too many to, go ahead, David.
We're not able to do like a name with the 4 stocks, a name, the 4 stocks, a name, the 4 stocks, and a name, the 4 stocks, and we go.
Could, but I mean, if I was a fan of 1 or 2 of yours, but a hater of 2 of yours, what am I going to do? A fan or a hater? You know, I mean, am I 50%, 50% hater? You know.
Yeah, fan of 2, fail of 2. You're gonna put me somewhere in the middle, and hopefully someone else you're a fan of at least 3 of, and they're your top choice on overall.
That sounds a little more complicated than I want to keep track of as the new host of this, not the investment competition podcast, Trial by Fire. So we're not going to do that. I will say that I am pretty confident that Faith is a hater of Mike. And that concludes the first episode of the Not Investment Competition podcast, Trial by Fire. Please tune in 4 weeks when we have our next recording. I will do my best to get this posted in the next week. I hope you all are fine with raw footage posting because I'm not doing any editing work. I refuse to do anything extra here. So.
Fuck yeah.
Time to start swearing.
All Shit.
Jacob
All right.
buys the
Well,
film.
thanks for joining me. If nobody has anything else, I'm going to end recording now.
Okay.
All right.